our U.S. representative. Let's get it right. Our U.S. representative, and that is Franklin Garcia. So he's going to be the first one to sort of come up and sort of give us an update on some of the things that he's been doing nationally, and then after him, we'll keep it moving. Come on.
Thank you, Chairman Edwards. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? One of the things that I do, or used to do a lot more, was go around the city and cover a bunch of events with a camera. And one thing I miss doing is going to Ward 8 and listening to Marion Barry say, "Good evening, Ward 8. Good evening, Ward 8. That's how he always started his meetings. And so I'm going to say today, good evening, Ward 5. Good evening, Ward 5. Because yesterday, as you all know, was his birthday. So happy birthday to our beloved Mayor for life. So this also reminds me a little bit. I came about 3 weeks ago. I went to Iowa, and we had such a great time in Iowa. So that you know, we had over 13 counties in Iowa present resolutions for DC statehood at their various caucuses. And of those, 8 actually had resolutions issued on behalf of DC statehood. And so that means that they're going to pick that up at the state level. Because like our city, we divide our city in 2 quadrants, in two districts for the delegate selection process. What they do in Iowa is that because the size of the state is a lot larger, they divide it in 4 parts. And we happen to have gotten a resolution passed in each one of those quadrants. So that means it'll be picked up at the state level. And we could possibly end up having Iowa have the statehood for the District of Columbia in their state platform, which is very, very impressive. But that leads me to letting you know that we're working very hard to get DC the right it deserves, the representation it deserves. We have seen an incredible momentum picked up in our city. A lot of people have come on board. This is the one time where basically everybody is singing the same tune, statehood. You know, even organizations like DC Vote, that was set up basically to advocate for the vote, to get our delegate to vote in Congress, it's also speaking statehood. So we're very excited about that. So that deserves a round of applause. Yes. So yes for statehood. So one of the things I do is I think in this stage of my tenure, what I try to do is bring more visibility about our plight. And so to that end, I started a TV show called DC Statehood Today that airs in DC TV about twice a week. And what I do there is I basically interview people about statehood, and I bring all kinds of issues. I let people know what's up in terms of news. Currently we have 2 statehood bills, one in the House and one in the Senate. The statehood bill has 130 co-sponsors. The statehood bill has 19 co-sponsors. All of them Democrats. But we have a strategy to reach to Republicans at some point. And so what we're going to do is, Puerto Rico has a statehood bill currently also, and they have some Republicans on board. I think there are about 12 Republicans currently supporting that statehood bill. What we're going to do is, once we're almost at the end of exhausting visiting all the Democrats, we're now going to go ahead and start visiting some of the Republicans, because this is statehood for the District of Columbia and the rights of people has nothing to do with partisan. This is nothing to do. That's why we're visiting the Organization of American States and ask that they deem the situation that happens in our nation's capital a human rights violation, because this is really not a partisan issue. But anyways, going back to the strategy, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and visit those Republicans that have already signed up for the Puerto Rico statehood bill, and hopefully they'll be a bit more sympathetic to our cause, and we think they will. So basically, just real quick, and I won't take much more time, but what I want to let you know is what our strategy is in terms of becoming the 51st state. What we're doing, what HR 317, the New Columbia Admission Act, is going to do is, it's going to shrink the size of the national capital. It'll stay the same. The national capital will still be the District of Columbia, or Washington, D.C., And then what we're doing is, so basically the smaller size of what is today the District of Columbia will basically be from the White House, the U.S. Congress, and everything in between, mainly your monuments, all the federal land. Everything else, all the residential parts of our city, we're going to call it the new state of Columbia, the New Columbia, the state of New Columbia, which is the voted name when we had a state convention back in 1982. And so that's our approach. And we don't believe that you need to amend the Constitution to get the state of New Columbia to become the 51st state, because from history, back in 1846, we know that it was already done. The size of the city of the capital started being at 100 square miles, made up of two parts. A part that was donated from Virginia, that was 31 square miles, and the other portion donated by the state of Maryland was 69 square miles that we sit on now. The 31 was given back in 1846. And we believe that we can do the same. We can shrink the size of the city, and we don't need to amend the Constitution, as many Republicans suggest that we need to do. So that's basically, what we do. In terms of getting Democrats elected, we continue to be entertained with the Republican debates. And we don't know if it is a good thing for our country, what we're seeing, because in the midst of being entertained, we're also elevating the rhetoric to a level that we've not seen before. I'm not so clear that that's good for us. But we are hopeful in the Democratic Party that whoever they elect, we can beat. And we believe that because we don't believe that more than 51% of America represents the kind of hatred, the alienation that you're seeing from the Republican Party. So we're very excited that they're fighting and that they're letting out their true color. And I think that eventually whoever our nominee is, and we're not saying who it's going to be, that's yet to be determined, but we believe that whoever that will be will eventually become the President of the United States. So thank you so much, Chairman Edwards, for the opportunity. And then just lastly, I must say that I've got some folks here working for me. So as you know, I'm on the ballot. I'm running for re-election. I believe that I need to do it just one more term at least. And so I've got my petition out there. So this is a political event. So please, if you can and you haven't signed, please sign my petition to be on the ballot. Thank you again.
The convention. And the convention, of course, is on the 25th through the 28th of July in Philadelphia. It's real close. And because it's so close in distance, we know that those who are not going to run as a delegate, and it is open to every registered Democrat across the District of Columbia. You do not have to collect petition signatures or pay any fee. It is open. What you do have to do is to get your friends and neighbors and family members that are registered Democrats down to the convention center on Saturday, the 21st of May. Now that's important, but you gotta don't come if you're not gonna bring a few hundred with you. Why? Because everybody runs. And everybody tries to bring their friends and their supporters out so that they can poll high in the delegate selection process. We as Democrats will be voting that day. We will be ranking the individuals who want to go to convention. In our congressional district, Congressional District 2, we will be electing 3 men and 3 women for Hillary Clinton, 3 men and 3 women for Bernie Sanders. And we also will elect an additional male alternate. That's the district level delegate selection process. It is open to all Democrats across the District of Columbia. Congressional District 1, which is other wards, they'll be electing also. But it's important that you know that we have an opportunity to come out and to participate. Now, following that, of course, as I was saying, the information about the Kennedy King dinner is important because we are really raising money so that we will have funds when you decide to come to Philadelphia, I want you to be able to have breakfast and have snack and enjoy yourself, because the Democratic Convention is an opportunity for Democrats across the country, in fact across the world, to come together. And I say the world because there's a group of Democrats called Democrats Abroad. And these are individuals that live in other countries but maintain their citizenship in the United States. And they also will be there. So I'm hoping that you will be interested enough in participating. The nice thing about participating as a Ward 5 Democrat is that Ward 5 always knows how to arrange transportation. It may be that there'll be transportation going up to Philly and coming back from Philly at night, and do not plan on leaving Philadelphia until 1 in the morning. Now, I know everyone here can start at 6 in the morning and stay up until 1 the next morning and still have some juice. So that's no question. I understand that. And that's the kind of schedule that you will have. Now, yes, you'll be having fun, but during the day you will have an opportunity to go to constituent caucuses, meet someone from Iowa, Tennessee, have an opportunity to talk about your favorite issue area. So that's why that's important. And you do not have to be an elected delegate to participate in the so-called constituency caucuses. Now, one of the biggest constituencies in the party, we all know what it is. It is our seniors. So we want to make sure, don't hold back. If you want to be there, be there. That's a very important opportunity to compare notes with others around the country. I guess I will kind of stop here, just go back to Kennedy King, because that's where we want your money. We want your money. Now, the admission to the program is $150. If you came to a recent event that we held at George Washington University, you get a 50% discount. And the important thing is that we know Ward 5 is going to have a table. And I'm committing somehow to help with having an additional table, which will be seated at that table, individuals, I hope some of you here, who will want to be there. In other words, we're going to try to figure out how we can have some discounts for our favorite ward. Understand? Okay, all right, okay. So that's what's going to happen on the 28th. We will be up at UDC in the new student center. It's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. We'll have a little party, reception, food, light dinner, and we'll also have the speakers, and that is we'll be presenting a series of awards. Just so you know, Senator Carper from Delaware, one of the more recent activists on behalf of statehood for DC, is going to be one of the recipients of an award. Of course, our dear, wonderful, forever Congresswoman will also receive an award. And as is the tradition, our mayor is going to receive an award too. So we got to be there, 5. We got to be there. So figure it out and figure how we're going to do this, whether we're going to have a lottery for these tickets or just what, but we're going to figure it out. And it's done in earnest. I'm trying to rush along because I don't want to take up the steam here, and I know how important our agenda is. But also, if you're going to participate in the delegate selection program, plan on being there as close to 10 a.m. as possible on Saturday, the 21st of May. That's important so we can start as close to on time as possible. Now, last time we did this about 4 years ago, we had about 3,000 participants. And I must tell you, it took us until 2:30 a.m. the next morning to count ballots. There's a contest again this year. we're expecting at least close to 5,000 people. So it's going to be a gathering. So try to get there early so we can get everything all situated and start on time. And I thank you for your attention. Looking forward to talking to you when we have our reception part of the program. Thank you.
Mayor Muriel Bowser here tonight to talk Democrat business with us. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, good evening, Democrats. It's always great to be in Ward 5, and Ronnie should know I'm always in Ward 5. We are in Ward 5 talking all kinds of business, and I'm always happy to be with some good Democrats. And let me acknowledge our chairwoman who has been leading us on all things Democratic and organizing our party, and that's not easy to do. It is not. So let's hear it for Anita, the chairwoman. DC Democrats. And to the Ward 5 Dems, I know that you take your job of education and registration and turning out the vote very, very seriously. And I want to thank you not only for getting ready for this primary, getting ready for this general, but always, always educating our voters. So let's hear it for the Ward 5 Democrats. And so to the two Democrats that kept me at precinct 66 from a very early age, good evening, mother and father. Give them a big round of applause. So I am pleased to be here, and I know that all of you are following the race that is captivating certainly me, and I know everybody else, to elect the next president. And if you feel like I feel, you wish you could vote for Barack Obama again. But since we don't have that choice, and we probably won't be able to change the Constitution before November, we are carefully following what happens. And I have really never been more proud of our party than I am during this race. In this race, you can really see the difference in good Democrats arguing, not in a bad way, but debating, I should say, over issues that will affect all of us. And so that's why I'm very proud of our party. But I'm also, and I did this the last time I ran, talked about how we can't take for granted that people believe what we believe. And the fact that Donald Trump is winning in all of these states means a lot of people believe what he believes. And that's pretty scary. I'll tell you a little story. I was at a school. I was at Oyster Adams. And I was talking to a group of third graders. And you might be surprised, because I am a little bit. No matter where I go, children are watching this presidential race. And they ask questions. They know who's running. So, you know, we're talking government and civics and voting and politics. So kids are, you know, not only do they hear it at school, they watch TV, they see the commercials. This little boy asked me, he says, you know, Mayor Bowser, how do you think Trump is doing? And I kind of paused because I wasn't quite sure how to answer him. And then he said, because if he wins, I'm going to have to leave. And I said, and then he went on to say, because I'm not from this country. So that just showed me that this little third grader is watching and knows knows what it means. So what does it mean for us to be Democrats? Because we're having that big argument the debate between Hillary and Bernie right now, and what those differences will mean for us in Washington, D.C. And so it's very important that we know that what we can do to build on the legacy of President Obama. And for me, that has been, and for us in the district, that has been very significant in terms of health care, in terms of a focus on criminal justice reform, and in terms of really focusing on how we're going to invest in our boys and young men of color. And if you listen to these Republicans, you would think our economy wasn't growing. You would think that the president didn't turn the economy around or create millions and millions of jobs or employ millions and millions of Americans or save the auto industry in Detroit. You would think this was the week after the Bush administration. But instead, we've experienced 8 years of progress. Now, certainly there is a lot yet to be done, and we want to elect a president that is going to build on that progress. All of the candidates, I think that we need to be focused on what will they do, not only for the good of our country. You know, it's really a couple of things that are important to me in the next president, and that's how she will represent us around the world, right? It's important. You have to, when you go around the world, you want a president that represents our American values. You want a president, for me, you know, that is not going to be eager to send our young men and women to war, but to work out diplomatic solutions. And the other big thing that's important to me is what attention will the president pay to cities? What attention would the president say to cities? I think what President Obama would tell us all is that you can do a lot of things from the presidency, but it's in cities where those policies are implemented on the ground level where people really feel them. So we need a president that is going to be focused on how to help cities deliver infrastructure, create jobs, a president that's going to help cities focus on getting young people especially employed and making sure that we have a social security system that is there for our seniors. We need a president that's going to focus on how we actually grow the middle class in this country. So that is what is going to be very important to us in this race. And we also have the responsibility, you know that we haven't had our primary yet, but you watched the one in Virginia, right? Yeah. Right? Did you see what happened, the winners? Yeah. Okay, so I think there's a lot of support for Donald Trump in Virginia. And I think there's going to be some Democrats too, okay? So that is what I think that we are going to do what we got to do in Washington, right? And that's the Democrats. Just like we had to help President Obama over the line in Virginia, we're going to have to do the same for our nominee this time as well. So we talking politics, so I can tell you what I think, right? So I'm going to be with her. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be with her. And I can spend some time telling you why, but I think that we have an extremely well qualified candidate. And having had the experience in the White House, having seen it up close, having had the experience in the Senate, we're actually getting things done across the aisle. Working Democrats and Republicans is hugely important. And having had the responsibility to face down dictators and be across the negotiating table and get things done for our country, there's not many people that we can say have that experience. And this primary has been good for Hillary in a lot of ways, because she didn't walk in. If she is successful at the end, it won't be because she walked into it, but she actually had to debate the issues. She had to come a long way on some issues, and that's going to be very important. So I have had the opportunity to speak with the secretary. She's very aware of our issues in Washington, D.C. She is a supporter of statehood for Washington, D.C., and I think that she will be a fierce advocate for us in the White House. So I will look forward to continuing to keep you posted of things, and I know that the chairwoman and the council member will keep us posted of what's going on in the party and how we can all be involved in electing the next president. Now, having said that, we have a local election too, and we don't want anybody to forget that half of the council is up for re-election. Not in your ward. Councilmember is in a fresh floor, right? Councilmember, you in a fresh floor. Then he won't be. I'm in a fresh floor too. So we on the ballot together. And so we are, however, have the other races and the 2 at-large races. And so we want everybody to go out and vote on June the 14th. So I want to leave any time that is available to answer any of your questions, but definitely encourage you to stay focused. The last thing I'll say is something I know the council member is also focused on, and that is the election itself. Anybody know how many precincts we have? A lot. And then you know when you go to vote, there's somebody nice there to help you vote. And we need more nice people to help at the precincts. And the Board of Elections organizes volunteers each and every year. There's a training, there's a small stipend, and there's a lot of satisfaction from helping your fellow voters. So we'll make sure that we help the board get out information on how you can volunteer so that we can have a smooth election on June the 14th. So I'm happy to take any questions.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, stand up, please.
Hi, I'm Guy Duran. I live in Ward 5. I just want to know if you want to put a, stake through the heart of the Exelon-Pepco merger. You can just talk about that for a minute.
Well, the Public Service Commission is responsible for the Pepco Exelon merger, so I hope they do their job.
What I'm saying is you're not going to cut any more deals with them, right?
The Exelon Pepco merger is at the Public Service Commission, and the deal that we made with them, I stand behind. Yes.
Hi, a nice warm welcome to Ward 5. I always like having you here. I wanted to ask you first of all, I want to thank you very much for all that you've done for the city and for the middle class in the city, but not only the middle class, but also people that are struggling in the city, many of which are in Ward 5 as well. As you know, the public assistance for needy families is expiring in October. Thank you. Councilmember Anita has introduced a bill, along with many of her colleagues in the council, called the DC Public Assistance Act. And I'm wondering if you've given any thought to supporting that, how you're going to proceed.
Well, thank you for that question. I didn't talk a lot about the budget, although I'm knee deep in it right now. And the question was about the temporary assistance to needy families program. The district basically offers a local benefit. As you know, there is a 5-year limit on the federal benefit. And when the the federal benefit expires, we have a local benefit that kicks in. Some years ago, maybe 2011, something like that, I don't remember, maybe 2011, the council passed a bill to eliminate the local benefit like most states. Most states don't have a local benefit, we do. And the benefit was to go down every year, to be phased out for the families who are on it. And so that we too would have a 5-year limit. So somebody could be on federal for 5 years and local for 5 years. And last year, when I came into office, was the first round of people who would have reached their 5 years. I asked the council to extend that limit by 1 year, to give us more time to work with the families who would expire off of assistance and to get them in job training. We've actually done a lot better. When I came into office, there were over 1,000 people waiting to be assigned to workforce training. We have eliminated that backlog, and so everybody has been assigned. So that's a good thing. The council was pretty resolute in our commitment to not extend another year. That's not to say that everybody is in a good place. the people who have who have been stepped down in their benefit. These are families who are not getting a full benefit, but are getting. I'll get to. I see your hand. I'm gonna get to your question. I see your hand.
Okay, wait 1 minute. Wait 1 minute. The mayor is here, but at this point, this is the Ward 5 Democrats meeting, so I'm gonna have to step in and make a statement that I made at the beginning of the meeting, and some people were, and some people weren't here when I made that statement, and everybody in the room agreed with my statement. So if you came in late, including the mayor, I want to repeat it. All right, this is a Democratic Party meeting tonight. This is not a ANC meeting. This is not a civic association meeting. We talking politics tonight. I'm expecting you to live up to follow our rules. She loves to answer questions, but I'm hungry. Y'all might not be. I'm hungry, and we'll be here all night if we get into those questions. I want to stick to politics tonight because I've got my Ward 5 Councilmember here, and I've got our at-large Ward 5 member that's here. And so I want to hear from them, and then I'm going to go eat. All right? Okay.
Okay.
She can overrule me if she wants to.
All right. All right. I'm gonna finish answering this young lady's question. Can I do it? Maybe if can I have a compromise? I'll just be real fast. Okay, I'll be real fast. So the bottom line is, we still recognize the problem, and we still recognize families in need, and we're coming up with a solution that will be presented to the council. It's not everything that's in Councilmember Bonds' bill. It's not going back on and just having no limits, but we do think that it's going to be a reasonable compromise.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. It's a lightning round. Speed. I got it. Fast.
Briefly, Mayor, thank you very much for coming to Ward 5. My wife was asking about the Latino participation, and we find out that you have a gentleman here who has a Latino background. Thank you for Ola,
Yes.
for the Office of Latino Affairs. Could you hold this for me? You mentioned a third grader that asked you a question. My son, I don't need the mic, thanks. My son wrote this for you. This because the gentleman mentioned, don't talk about board issues, but that's for you, by my son.
Okay, thank you.
All the love.
All right. This is about all politics being local. Okay, so that's politics.
All right.
And this young man wants a track around the field around Bacchus, so I'm assuming he means the National Park Service field. So that's politics right there. Starting. I like it. And on talking about representation, and I should acknowledge Representative Garcia. Thank you for that. And let me say something else about how we need to make sure everybody is voting in Washington, D.C. and everybody's getting registered. We have a lot of folks, Latino folks in our city who are turning 18, and we want to make sure they're participating in voting. And so we need to call on everybody to do that. We also want to make sure that our Office of ANCs and our council and all of our elective offices are representative of the people who live here. And so where's my young man? Okay, young man, you starting today. Count on you. Yes. Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bowser, for coming here tonight and being a strong Democrat, and I'm particularly heartened by your comments about Hillary Clinton. Thank you so much. Is there going to be a formal announcement? And also, just to give you some feedback on the job you're doing, you're continuing to strike all the right notes, and we're very happy.
Thank
so
you.
keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. So I have been really busy, and Washington, D.C. keeps me pretty busy. But when the DNC has called on us to come out and support Democrats, I certainly do. I went down to South Carolina one weekend to support the secretary, and I had kind of an uneventful announcement. Somebody asked me who I was going to be supporting, and I said I'm supporting Hillary, and so that's it. But she has come to a number of events in Washington and has invited us to participate in those events. And as we get closer to the general, I would expect that we all come together to figure out how we're going to support the nominee. Yes.
I'm just curious, you mentioned how there are approximately
Mike, please.
there are a lot of, I'm sorry, many precincts. I wonder approximately how many are there?
There are 144 precincts across the district, and we have had, last year we had 4 early voting precincts. We've had as many as 8, but we found that having 4 actually worked pretty well. And those, the Ward 5 location has been around at Brookland. Turkey Thicket. So we have a lot of precincts to cover. Yes, Ms. Poole.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And for the young voters, I have a granddaughter just turned 18 for her birthday. We took her to register.
Thank you.
I want to urge the other people in the community to look around. You see a young person, speak to them, ask them how they register. It might mean taking them to register. They go right to DMV. And while you're there, then they don't have a form of ID. Help them do it. It's $20. You know, and because I'm going to propose something to Joe Park in North Michigan, where we do a basketball shoot,
Okay.
charge them the $20. That $20, you can take them to get their ID, and they can participate in the basketball shoot
Right.
at the same time. So
Right.
we're going to try to do that immediately because the deadline is coming out to register to vote in this election.
Yes, and I want to thank you for saying that, because I think one thing, and we, in our party right now, we see a lot of energy, and I've really been trying to focus on it and analyze it. While I'm supporting Hillary, that's not because I'm not interested in what Senator Sanders has to say, and I'm certainly listening to see, where our party needs to move from his platform. But I think what we all need to focus on is why so many young people are interested and
Because
excited.
he's telling them a falsehood.
Well,
It's nothing to support it with.
I
I
hear you.
guarantee free college tuition. See, somebody's gotta get real.
I
Somebody's gotta get real.
know. But this is the other key takeaway I have for this, right? So when you go, that message resonates in some states
Yeah.
that we've seen. It don't resonate at all in other states. In fact, in South Carolina, in a certain demographic, Hillary Clinton beat him 90-something to 7. More voters in that demographic than for President Obama. So I think that.
Yeah, stand up, please.
Hi, I'm Guy Duran. I live in Ward 5. I just want to know if you want to put a, stake through the heart of the Exelon-Pepco merger. You can just talk about that for a minute.
Well, the Public Service Commission is responsible for the Pepco Exelon merger, so I hope they do their job.
What I'm saying is you're not going to cut any more deals with them, right?
The Exelon Pepco merger is at the Public Service Commission, and the deal that we made with them, I stand behind. Yes.
A nice warm welcome to Ward 5. We always like having you here. I wanted to ask you first of all, I want to thank you very much for all that you've done for the city and for the middle class in the city, but not only the middle class, but also people that are struggling in the city, many of which are in Ward 5 as well. As you know, the public assistance for needy families is expiring in October. Thank you. Councilmember Anita has introduced a bill, along with many of her colleagues in the council, called the DC Public Assistance Act. And I'm wondering if you've given any thought to supporting that, how you're gonna proceed.
Well,
And I hope
thank you. Thank you for that question. I didn't talk a lot about the budget, although I'm knee deep in it right now. And the question was about the temporary assistance to needy families program. The district basically offers a local benefit. As you know, there is a 5-year limit on the federal benefit. And local benefit, the federal benefit expires, we have a local benefit that kicks in. Some years ago, maybe 2011, something like that, I don't remember, Councilmember, maybe 2011, the council passed a bill to eliminate the local benefit, like most states. Most states don't have a local benefit, we do. And the benefit was to go down every year, to be phased out for the families who are on it. And so that we too would have a 5-year limit. So somebody could be on federal for 5 years and local for 5 years. And last year, when I came into office, was the first round of people who would have reached their 5 years. I asked the council to extend that limit by 1 year, to give us more time to work with the families who would expire off of assistance and to get them in job training. We've actually done a lot better. When I came into office, there were over 1,000 people waiting to be assigned to workforce training. We have eliminated that backlog, and so everybody has been assigned. So that's a good thing. The council was pretty resolute in our commitment to not extend another year. That's not to say that everybody is in a good place. The people who have who have been stepped down in their benefit, these are families who are not getting a full benefit, but are getting. I'll get to. I see your hand. I'm gonna get to your question. I see your hand.
Okay. Oh, wait 1 minute. Wait 1 minute. The mayor is here. But at this point, this is the Ward 5 Democrats meeting, so I'm going to have to step in and make a statement that I made at the beginning of the meeting. And some people weren't, and some people weren't here when I made that statement. And everybody in the room agreed with my statement. So if you came in late, including the mayor, I want to repeat it. All right. This is a Democratic Party meeting tonight. This is not a ANC meeting. This is not a civic association meeting. We talking politics tonight. And Bowser, I'm expecting you to live up to follow our rules. She loves to answer questions. But I'm hungry. Y'all might not be. I'm hungry. And we'll be here all night if we get into those questions. I want to stick to politics tonight because I've got my Ward 5 Councilmember here, and I've got our at-large Ward 5 member that's here. And so I want to hear from them, and then I'm going to go eat. All right? Okay.
Okay.
She can overrule me if she wants to.
All right. All right, I'm gonna finish answering this young lady's question. Can I do it? Maybe if can I have a compromise? I'll just be real fast. Okay, I'll be real fast. So the bottom line is, we still recognize the problem, and we still recognize families in need, and we're coming up with a solution that will be presented to the council. It's not everything that's in Councilmember Bonds' bill. It's not going back on and just having no limits, but we do think that it's going to be a reasonable compromise.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. It's a lightning round. Speed. I got it. Fast.
Briefly, Major, thank you very much for coming to Ward 5. My wife was asking about the Latino participation, and we found out that you have a gentleman here who has a Latino background. Thank you for Ola.
Yes.
For the Office of Latino Affairs. Could you hold this for me? You mentioned a third grader that asked you a question. My son, I don't need the mic, thank you. My son wrote this for you. Because the gentleman mentioned, don't talk about board issues, but that's for you, by my son.
Okay, thank you.
All
right. This is about all politics being local. Okay, so that's politics.
All right.
And this young man wants a track around the field around Bacchus, so I'm assuming he means the National Park Service field. So that's politics right there. Starting. I like it. And on talking about about representation, and I should acknowledge the Representative Garcia. Thank you for that. And let me say something else about how we need to make sure everybody is voting in Washington, D.C., and everybody's getting registered. We have a lot of folks, Latino folks in our city who are turning 18, and we want to make sure they're participating in voting. And so we need to call on everybody to do that. We also want to make sure that our Office of ANCs and our council and all of our elective offices are representative of the people who live here. And so where's my young man? Okay, young man, you starting today. We're counting on you.
We've got our Ward 5 Ward 5 council member. And from the very beginning, this is one of the things that Councilmember McDuffie and I have talked about a lot. You know, building this party up, bringing us all together to work together as a party to be strong for Ward 5. And so I want to bring up our Ward 5 council member, Councilmember McDuffie.
All right, so we're talking about politics. And it's 8:24 p.m.
That's right.
And you got a lot of nice hot food out there, right? So I'm gonna keep it short and I'm gonna keep it sweet so Councilmember Orange can also speak. I want to start by thanking our wonderful Mayor Bowser, who leads the Democratic Party here in the District of Columbia, and our State Democratic Party Chair, Anita for all the stuff that they're doing. My colleague and predecessor, Vincent, who's an at-large member on the DC Council, but also a resident of Ward 5. All the other civic association leadership here. We've got our first mom and dad, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Bowser, who are here, as well as Miss Rosemary Thomas, who's also here. She's probably outside getting a head start on that food because she's smart. So let's give them all a round of applause. Let me just say quickly before I pass on to Councilmember Orange. We are in Ward 5 tonight, and I love the way we do it. When we have a great event and we say we're going to have folks here, you all show up and you show out. Let's give yourselves a round of applause for being awesome Ward 5 Democrats. We want to build the party up, continue to build the party up so that all the folks who run citywide in the District of Columbia and run across the United States know that they have to come through Ward 5 if they want to represent the city citywide. Am I right, Chair? Am I right, Mr. Chair? A lot of y'all been around here, Ms. Huff, long enough to know that people knew that. They had to come through Ward 5 if they wanted to run citywide. Precinct 66 is where we are right now, and it's no small coincidence that we're sitting right here in Precinct 66. And so I want to thank you all for allowing me to represent you all on the council. But I also want to say, just as we think about nationally what is happening right now, we've got Mr. Sanders and Ms. Clinton both running for the nomination as Democrats, but we got a lot of awful things happening with that other party that will go nameless right now. So as we think about making sure that we elect a Democrat for the presidency in 2016, we also have to think about how we help both here and in other parts of the country to make sure that that happens, right? Right? All right, that's what I'm talking about. Because the stakes are way too high for us to lose some of the momentum that we're seeing right now. We had President Obama for 8 years. He was a friend to the District of Columbia. We've been a friend to him, I'd like to think. But we've got a real serious issue happening right now with the tenor and the tone of the debate coming from that other party that shall remain nameless. And we've got to do everything that we can in our power to make sure that we elect our Democrats here locally in DC, but that we make sure we elect a Democrat for the presidency in 2016. Am I right? Am I right, Ward 5? Am I right, Ward 5? Yeah. Y'all tired, y'all had a long day, and y'all hungry. But we got to make sure we do the right thing. Finally, I'm going to say, the mayor and I do have a fresh forward. She mentioned that. We're 1 year into our fresh forward. But please, when you go to the polls in June for our primary, bring somebody with you. We have to get our numbers up in the District of Columbia. We worked way too hard to get the limited home rule that we have to really have the numbers that we're seeing citywide. Last year's, 2014 primary, I think, was somewhere around 27% turnout. That is awful. You all, a lot of these folks seated in this room, fought way too hard to make sure that we collected our own mayor and our own school board. And your parents, your mothers and fathers and grandparents and others fought even harder to make sure we have the right to vote in this country. So let's make sure that we continue to educate our young folks, make sure our 18-year-olds are being registered to vote, make sure our 17-year-olds, who are going to be 18 by the time the general election happens, know that they can vote in our primary in June, right? So we got students that need to be educated about that process too. So let's continue to work together as a solid, strong, united Ward 5 Democrat Party to make sure we continue to do all the great things that we know we can get done here in the District of Columbia. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Thank you to my colleagues. And thank you most importantly to our Ward 5 Democratic Party. Thank you.
All right, we're talking politics now. I like this. All right, so we're going to have one more person between y'all and the food. And that's Vincent Orange, our at-large council member. And now this is the person that I've served with on the Democratic Party. He's a party worker as well as an elected official. He was our national committee man in the last cycle. So he's a hard-working Democrat. Vincent Orange.
Good evening, Ward 5. And, I really want to start by saying this. If you touch a rock, you touch the past. If you touch a flower, you touch the present. But if you touch a child, you touch the future. And that's really why I'm really, really there with Mayor Bowser. She's touching the future. Today, we had a great day down at the council, and it was really, for me, it was a performance hearing, but it was all the young people that are coming down, that are testifying, that this administration is reaching out and actually touching. The fact that this administration has reached out and touched in excess of 2,522 to 24-year-olds and brought them into the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program. And although we were, the council capped the numbers, we brought 1,000 of them in the youth program. But today, a 9th grader came down and testified and said that he was going to be a film director, that he was on set for Born Identity 5 that we've been filming here in the city. They're filming Jackie, they're filming Beat. There's so much going on right now. The Richard Wright Carter Public Schools, they had all their students out. It's just a great thing to see these 23-year-olds, to see these 24-year-olds, to see these 9th graders. There was a young lady that was testifying today that's going to North Carolina A&T, and she's going to be in fashion design. We're getting these folks involved. And at the end of the day, it really is about politics. Because if you see the ones that are trying to stop us from engaging these young people, they're not Democrats, but they're sitting down there on their council. And we really got to put pressure on them to tell them it's not really about us, it's about our young people. And if you really want to talk about politics, if we really ought to do it the way Congress does it, if you're the majority, that means the majority runs the committees. And why is a lot of these non-party folks running our committees? So we really need to be about the party, and that's what my message is here today. And if you're about the party, you're about the circulation of the dollar. Now, working with Bowser, I'm on board. We have determined that there's going to be $635 million that's going to be spent this fiscal year with our small business enterprises. And by law, $317 million is going to be spent by law. She's put up cbeconnect.dc.gov. You can go and look at all 88 agencies. And the best part about this, she's indicated to her agency heads, if you can't meet your goal, what it says in this book, where she's told the citizens of the District of Columbia, you got to come see me to get the waiver. So I think that's what leadership is really about. And we're all coming together because at the end of the day, it's all about us. So it's all about party politics. And I, too, I'm supporting Hillary Clinton. But let me tell you why I support the Clintons. Back when I first got on the council, my first desk was at 441 4th Street. Remember, we had been put out of the Wilson building. Remember, the feds had took over the Wilson building. They was getting ready to sell the Wilson building. And it was that call that was made to President Clinton. And President Clinton said, no, you can't do that. That's the seat of government for the District of Columbia government. We were able to get the $52 million. Remember, there was a lot of controversy about who was getting paid, but we ultimately got back in the Wilson building, and that was our seat of power. And that was really because of the Clintons, and because they could have easily, that building could have went somewhere else, and we would have been at 441. And the Wilson building is a beautiful building, and that's where we need to be. So I support the Clintons 100% because they did not have to do that at that point in time. And so I think that we should be signing those petitions and making sure that Hillary actually gets on the ballot as well here in the nation's capital. Because at the end of the day, we need our seat of power. We need that headquarters. And when every president comes down Pennsylvania Avenue, they got to come by us. They got to come by us. And finally, before I take my seat, I just think that Ward 5 and all the citizens of Ward 5 really need to take a bow. Because where we are today, it really started back in Ward 5. Remember, they were talking about that waste transfer station on New York Avenue, and we said no. Remember the public access television, they wanted to turn that into a jail. The Ward 5 citizens said no. Now we have public access television. Remember they wanted to keep McKinley closed. Ward 5 residents said no, got the $85 million, and then basically we showed them that, then 50 came up with the $1 billion school modernization program, but it started with us. Remember they all went out to Las Vegas, they thought they were going to put Home Depot on Ward 3 on Wisconsin Avenue. We had this 25-acre car impoundment lot in Salt Dome where they ultimately came back to us. We just waiting for them. So, and then the recreation centers, y'all know y'all was out there. North Michigan Park, Turkey Thicket, Brentwood Community Center, all of that started here in 5 and now it's reverberating across the city. And y'all came to those economic development summits. We gotta take our hats off to Pat McGuire and also to Charlene Drew Jarvis and Richard Monte and Alice Riven and all of them. They came up with these ideas, but it was in Ward 5. And I want to thank Councilmember McDuffie and Councilmember Harry Thomas Sr. and Jr. and all those, and even Spalding, because we've all just been building upon each other's legacy and moving forward. But it's about Ward 5 Democrats. And we love our mayor, so at some point when we came down the road, we started calling it Ward 45. 45 together, because we're right there on the border. So let's make it happen. We're all in this together. God bless us all. Thank you all very much.